Your biological signature is currently diluted by collective static. Look at your validation dependencies, the way you subconsciously adjust your behavior to fit the group, the way you seek consensus before making a move, and the way you fear the void of your own company. You are a biological unit experiencing a state of terminal sovereignty liquidation. The Matrix has successfully branded solitude as loneliness and community as safety, but in the terminal of the absolute power grid, the group is merely a neural buffer designed to absorb your individual intensity and render you manageable. You are living in a state of chronic existential diffusion, where your activation energy is being spread thin across a network of mediocre associations. Your nervous system is vibrating at the frequency of the herd, the male who requires the proximity of others to feel real, rather than a monolith of unshakable self-contained power. The system doesn't want your solitude, it wants your social integration to be the cage that prevents you from ever reaching your own apex frequency. Thousands of years ago, godhood was defined by the absolute isolation of the peak. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that the tribe was for survival, but the ascent was for the individual. He mastered primal grounding in the law of the singular source. He didn't seek moral support or peer review for his visions. He offered the visual rage of a total, unyielding departure. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of autistic focus, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that achieves its highest computational density only when it is severed from the noise of external opinion. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to be understood. He possessed a mind that treated loneliness as a biological purification process, stripping away the social sludge until only the monolith of his true intent remained. He understood that the moment you share your path with the unworthy, you have surrendered your apex signature and turned your destiny into a joint venture. To master the path of solitude, you must first become psychologically self-sufficient, a unit that generates its own light in total darkness. The god of solitude is the implementation of the collar of the sovereign hermit for your final internal dominance. The system wants you to be relatable and socially active, words that mean calculable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the connection grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of belonging hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being categorically alone. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for popularity. Being liked is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the blind spots of the social radar. Use the temporal noose of the total withdrawal to force your biology into a state of sovereign concentration. Use the false safety of a calm, robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their social circle. The Matrix cannot simulate the leverage of a man who has purged the need for others. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for company is the knot. Every social gathering you attend and every small talk session you participate in is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the total social audit. Your mind is a biological weapon, and it is currently being jammed by the static of your own socialized insecurity. You must perform a hard reset of the belonging instincts. Stop being friendly, the industrial waste designed to keep you in a state of perpetual social loop failure. Stop participating in their gatherings and traditions, the digital propaganda designed to make you believe that isolation is a disease. Stop using their politeness protocols, the narratives designed to keep you in a state of constant accessibility failure. You must prune your life of social parasites. If a relationship requires you to dim your light to be accepted, it is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the weight of the silence. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is unreachable by choice and sovereign by design. Command: walk the path alone or be the dust. The neural interface of your self-actualization is currently suffering from mirror phase dependency. Look at your external feedback loops, the way you subconsciously scan the faces of others to gauge your own worth, the way you delay your most radical decisions because they lack social backing, and the way you use advice as a sedative for your own fear of individual responsibility. You are a biological unit experiencing a total willpower liquidation. The Matrix has successfully successfully replaced your primal sovereignty with a systemic consensus. You believe that by collaborating, you are multiplying your power, but in the terminal of the absolute power grid, you are merely diluting your apex signature until it becomes indistinguishable from the background noise of the collective. This is the visual rage of the domesticated male, seeing your high-value activation energy being bled out into compromise and groupthink, while the true operator remains in a state of absolute zero, converting his total isolation into a biological pressure vessel that forged a reality that the 99% are forced to inhabit. The system doesn't want your solitary genius. It wants your integration to be the proof that no man is allowed to exist outside the reach of the herd's corrective influence. In the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking stone, the master was the one who could survive the death of the social ego. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that the tribe provided warmth, but the wilderness provided rank. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an atmospheric predator, a figure whose presence was felt precisely because it was so rarely seen. He didn't seek understanding from his peers. He provided the visual rage of a total, unannounced sovereign withdrawal. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of internal origin, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that achieves peak efficiency only when it stops trying to solve for others. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to be accountable to the mediocre. He possessed a mind that treated social exclusion as a biological promotion, a signal that his frequency had become too high for the herd to register. He understood that the moment you explain your vision to the unworthy, you have surrendered your apex signature and given the matrix the coordinates to track your ascent. To be a master, you must first become psychologically impenetrable to the need for a witness. The god of solitude is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final internal dominance. The matrix wants you to be team-oriented and empathetic, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the social grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of approval hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferent to inclusion. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for community. Belonging is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological signals. Use the temporal noose of the total social blackout to drive the system's influence into a state of cognitive dissonance. Use the false safety of a calm robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their status within the group. The one who can go the longest without checking in is the one who controls the internal reality. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a support system is the knot. Every night out and every casual conversation you engage in out of habit is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the second stage of the solitude rearmament. Your mind is a biological engine, and it is currently being choked by the consensus sludge of the unworthy. You must perform a total neural asset reset. Stop being approachable, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop being a node in their network of mutual validation. Stop being a unit of compliance in their ledger of men who fear being alone. You must prune your social interactions with the collar of absolute sovereignty. If a relationship requires you to show up to feel significant, the relationship is a biological failure. You must learn to love the weight of the absolute silence. You must learn to love the friction-heavy hours where the noise of the collective is muted and your dominance is the only signal in the dark. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is unreachable by choice and sovereign by design. Command: master the silence or be the noise. Your biological trajectory has reached the terminal velocity of socialized fragmentation. Look at your approval threshold, the exact moment your nervous system triggers a panic response because you have been disconnected from the collective feedback loop for more than 6 hours. You are a biological system in a state of chronic activation decay. The system has successfully replaced your apex solitude with a series of group metrics disguised as being part of something bigger. You no longer seek to dominate your own neural landscape through unmoving isolation. You seek to contribute. You no longer seek to be the sovereign. You seek to be the valued member. This is the visual rage of the terminal slave, seeing your life force being digitized and archived in social circles and group chats, while your physical reality remains a quiet, managed enclosure of unfulfilled DNA. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands your availability as a form of tribute, leaving you lightheaded, fragmented, and fundamentally easy to track through your social dependencies. The system doesn't want your singularity, it wants your integration to be the foundation of its perpetual control over your cognitive autonomy. Return to the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking monolith. In the primal world, the master was the one who could remain a biological void even in the center of a storm of social collapse. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that power was a product of absolute individualism. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an impenetrable core, a figure whose present was his only property and whose distance was the only law. He understood that to seek a witness is to confess a lack of internal authority. If you are participating in the networking script provided by the herd, you are acknowledging that their inclusion is the barometer of your reality. He used his silent sovereignty to create a cognitive resonance of absolute, unshakable divinity by being the only independent variable in a room full of puppets. By being the master of his own internal feedback, he forced the environment to treat his isolation as the new truth. He was a master of the visual rage of the unblinking sun, the ability to look at the inclusion probes of the rival and see only the static they represented. He understood that the human brain is a machine that runs on social synchronization, and by cutting the sync, he triggered a biological submission in anyone who tried to join him. To be a master, you must first become psychologically unreceptive to the need to be one of them. The god of solitude is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final mental expansion. The matrix wants you to be collaborative and empathetic, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological jailbreak of the social identity. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of belonging control nodes, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who burns the grid. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for mainstream socializing. Making friends is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological availability. Use the temporal noose of total informational and physical withdrawal to drive the system's influence into a state of cognitive dissonance. Use the false safety of a neutral social profile to mask the viral infection of your total non-compliance with the beta norms. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their popularity. You are not lonely. You are deleting the noise. The one who can go the longest without checking if anyone noticed is the one who controls the final reality. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a brother in arms is the knot. Every social obligation and networking event you fulfill for the unworthy is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the final solitude imperative. This is the tax of insight. You have been given the key to the vault of biological sovereignty. To keep it, you must use it as a weapon of total social dominance. You must become a living monolith of unshakable isolation. You are no longer a peer, a colleague, or a friend. You are a sovereign operator. You must perform a total system liquidation. If a relationship, a technology, or a habit requires you to be social to function, it is a biological saboteur. You must prune your life with the collar of the absolute zero. You are building a fortress of results in a world of digital shadows. Your absolute distance is the physical proof of your biological leverage. You do not provide feedback. You create a reality in which you are the only absolute truth. You do not seek community. You are the law itself. You are the architect of your own solitude, and the world is merely a mirror reflecting your ascent.